Thank you, Leanne, and good afternoon to everyone. For those that don't know me, as Leanne mentioned, I'm Junaid Francis, and I'm the Stakeholder Relations Manager at Petco. In line with the theme of this conference of collaboration, I thank you all for the opportunity today for me to share with you a bit more about Petco's partnerships, what collaborations we've been up to, and particularly with a focus on last year. Let's give this a test. There we go. So 2024 is a landmark year for Petco, right? It marks 20 years of collaboration, 20 years of teamwork, and 20 years of setting targets for ourselves. Previously voluntary, and as you know, now regulatorily, all with the goal of building a sustainable value chain for post-consumer PET bottles. The first Petco AGM was actually hosted on the 30th of August in 2006. And of course, that was long before I joined Petco. In fact, I only matriculated a couple of years prior to that. But on the screen, you can see some images from the day, as well as pictures of some of the people that have laid the groundwork on which we build today. Many of those still in the sector today and still in this room today. So this slide captures a timeline of our milestones over the 20 years, essentially a record of our trials and tribulations since inception. And we started off quite modestly with 2 part-time staff and a contract with 1 recycler. And we've since grown to 18 permanent staff members and contracts with 10 recycling members. There we go. So our model has been quite effective and growing the collection for recycling of post-consumer PET bottles. So you'll see from the graph back in 2005, we started at collection of 16% of what the entire market places on the market for collection. And this has grown to last year above 70% of what our members are placing on the market. So this is it's a significant growth in a relatively short period of time, and this is testament to the efficacy of the Petco model in unlocking collection at scale. The rate of over 70% of PET bottles being collected is consistent with some of the best rates globally, and this is a feather in the cap of all involved with Petco and for the broader South African recycling industry generally. In addition to unlocking collection, the model has also overseen the growth in the availability of recycled PET for the sector. So again, if we look at 2010, 15% of all bottles that were being collected for recycling was going to food grade or recycled PET use, and that's grown to about 45% last year. And of course, with that being legislated at the moment now, it's quite important for all our PET producers in order to meet their recycled content targets, which is a regulated requirement at the moment. In addition to that, the Petco model has also been effective in growing the value in the trade of post-consumer PET bottles. Right? So back in 2004, we had about 7,000 bottles being collected at a street value of 50 cents a kilogram. And that meant there was 3.5 million that was available to those who are trading in post-consumer PET bottles. And in 2022, we unlocked collection of almost 90,000 tons at a street value of about 4.50 a kilogram, which meant there was about 400 million available for all of those who trade in the sector. And again, this growth that we've seen has been captured by those in the value chain, so it's increased the earnings of waste pickers and buyback centers and those that trade in post-consumer PET. So despite it being a year filled with uncertainties and several challenges, year 2 of mandatory EPR, through the partnerships that we've hosted, we've managed to continue our legacy of success within year 2. And now I'd just like to share some highlights from last year. So we all know, and as we've heard this morning, that the pathway to a circular economy begins with good packaging design. And last year, one of our Petco members, Woolworths, took on the recyclability challenge of having a PET shrink sleeve on a PET bottle and moved towards having a polyolefin shrink sleeve on a PET bottle. And that transition essentially means that the sleeve as well as the bottle can now be recycled. And they were the first in South Africa to make this change. We're hoping it inspires other brand owners to do likewise. Hint, hint for some of the people in this room. And as Petco, we'll continue to be working with these brand owners to support this transition. So to promote the rollout of this polyolefin shrink sleeve, we've engaged with industry stakeholders and we formed a working group to oversee this rollout. This working group comprises of representatives from your label manufacturers, the brand owners, as well as the recycler. To date, we've developed this identification logo, which is meant to assist our collectors and recyclers from distinguishing the recyclable, floatable polyolefin shrink sleeve from the less desirable PET or PVC shrink sleeve on a PET bottle. And we've also contracted consultants, Circular Vision and Steadfast Greening, to develop the certification scheme, the surveillance plan, and the certification fee. And we're hoping to pilot this with the brand owner shortly. We've heard quite a bit today as well about municipal engagement and the key role that this can play in unlocking good quality recyclables at scale, and the need to partner with municipalities to roll out separation at source project, as well as to undertake projects on infrastructure to divert waste into the recyclable waste stream so it ends up at the recycler. And in line with this, in 2023, Petco partnered with 58 municipalities, and this partnership entailed working on initiatives like infrastructure provision, skills development, as well as separation at source projects. Talking about separation at source projects through 2023 and through these partnerships, we sponsored a total of 358 bins to various projects to look at unlocking more quality recyclables and more recyclables in general. Some of these initiatives include your resorts, game lodges, schools, a university as well. And on screen, this is a partnership that we had with the city of Tshwane, where we provided 12 large recycling bins to a resort in Pretoria to unlock further collection from the holiday goers at this resort. Further in our collaborations with municipalities, we also partnered with the City of Cape Town as well as the Drakensberg local municipality to support waste pickers with PPE, with branding, as well as a baling machine. And through this support, as you can see, we contribute towards improving the working conditions of the waste pickers and the informal sector, as well as supporting their dignity, their safety, and their visibility while they are at work. In fact, the Drakensberg municipality, they've run a project where they've allowed for waste pickers to sort within their spaces and also allowed them to collect from households. And this is their way of actually integrating with waste pickers into the solid waste management program. So from this map, you can see that Petco has quite a national footprint in our projects within the value chain. And in 2023, we worked with 100 projects across South Africa with the goal to support them with equipment and infrastructure. And through these projects, we provided them with things like trailers and trolleys, baling machines where it makes sense, and various other types of equipment. We also work closely with your waste picker associations like the African Reclaimers Organization, or ARO, and the South African Waste Pickers Association as SALPA. And in this instance, we provided them with much needed equipment as well. And again, this is to support their collection initiatives as well as to help them break down the stigma around waste picking and to try to get them to be valued for the valuable service that they do play for all of us. corporates also have a role to play over and above their EPR fee contributions to growing small businesses. And a good example is our partnership with BankQ, funded by the Coca-Cola Foundation, where we supported a buyback center in Mpumalanga called Hendrina Recycling. This is probably more than a buyback center in Mpumalanga, where they play quite a big role in the community, working with schools, working with waste pickers, promoting anti-littering and creating awareness about their different initiatives. Through the support that we've provided them, they've been able to unlock 700 tons for collection daily. And again, this is a good testament of the role that businesses can play to support these small SMMEs on the ground. In a similar vein, we've been partners with the AECI since 2021, and in 2023 we were responsible for unlocking collection worth 275 tons at the 13 buyback centers that are present in and around the AECI operations. And these buyback centers play quite a role in creating employment in these rural settings. As part of their buyback centers, there's about over 280 people employed there, and about 115 people of these are women. So showing the significant role that this contributes to job creation within the rural areas. We also supported in collaboration with Alpla, and I see Wilma smiling at some of our poses with equipment here. We also supported our buyback center in Soweto with some equipment, which has contributed towards them unlocking collection as well. And then we've heard quite a bit today from the DDG and various others about the need to have inclusive growth and to support those more vulnerable members in society like women, youth, and people with disability, as we heard from Francois earlier. So as part of that, we've also partnered with Safripol to support a buyback center in Everton in Gauteng. Part of the support we gave them was some branding as well as a scale. And through this support, as we told, the branding has actually helped to create visibility for the buyback center. So community members are now more aware of the buyback center and that they can bring their trade there. And the scale has also helped to create efficiencies within this business. And again, this women-owned business has grown their employment from about 7 to 12 staff now, and also further unlocked collection. So this slide captures Petco's involvement in another schools initiative, which was organized by one of our Petco members, Tetra Pak, in collaboration with another brand owner, Woodlands Dairy and Gayatri. And the goal of this was to engage with schools to create awareness about the recyclability of liquid cartons, and to also to try and divert some of these cartons away from the general waste into the recycling stream. So 22 schools were engaged within the Eastern Cape. And these schools were also provided with prizes as well as the bins that you see over there. And as a result of this partnership, we collected 275,000 packs for recycling. So through the support that Petco provides to buyback centers in 2023, we contributed to sustaining over 900 employment opportunities, as well as over 8,000 livelihoods, and this is particularly for the waste pickers that trade with these buyback centers. And again, this is touching on a key requirement that the DDG spoke about, as well as that reflected in the EPR regulations of creating and sustaining jobs within the recycling and the waste management space. So in addition to the partnerships that we mentioned, education and awareness, which we've also been hearing about quite a lot today, is important to drive behavior change within key constituencies like consumers, collectors, our members, etc. And this year we launched our Reasons to Recycle consumer campaign, which aims to encourage consumers to participate in recycling, i.e. sorting their recyclables from their general waste. And we're going to use the reasons that they choose to recycle as a means to encourage them. So the idea is that everyone shares what drives them to participate in the recycling, whether it's to ensure that we provide a cleaner environment for our current or future generations, or whether we want to create livelihoods for those that are most in need. We also have several education tools and resources that encourage consumers to participate in recycling and explain to them how best to do that. Starting on the left, there's our newsletter, which goes out to about 40,000 subscribers, and that enjoys some good opening rates and good engagement rates. We've also started a WhatsApp for Business platform, which is aimed at collectors and consumers, giving them automated responses on how they can participate, what's your nearest drop-off site, etc. And then we've also developed CAPS-aligned school curricula for grades 1 to 9. And the goal of this is to really equip your educator with the skills to teach our learners about not littering, about living more conscientious lifestyles. And that's been rolled out in collaboration with the Pick and Pay Schools Clubs to over 300 schools and over 370,000 learners. We host our Petco Awards every year as well, where we recognize champions and excellence within the recycling industry, be it community members, waste pickers, or brands that want to do the right thing. And last year, we also provide these members with marketing assets, which they can use to get exposure and thereby grow their businesses. Last year, we recognized 11 winners in 9 different categories. Some of them are also here today, and they range from, as I said, government officials to collection businesses, community businesses, as well as brands making good decisions. We also launched our second season of our docu-series called Sorted, and this was off the back of the success of season 1. Essentially, this docu-series, again, shines the spotlight on the key role players within the value chain and the valuable work that they do. This season has exceeded our expectations, where we had over 9 million engagements on social media and 2.1 million people who watched across the 9 episodes who watched it on YouTube. I mean, I think this is fairly impressive because I don't know many people that watch documentaries on recycling, so we're quite proud of these rates. And the goal, again, is to drive consumer change in their practices and showcase some of the champions in the value chain. We also continued with our dedicated member engagement program. So this is to create transparency with our members, share with them what we're using the EPR fees for and how it's being used to meet the targets. And last year, on a very rainy day in November, we took our members to visit a buyback center called Vortex Recycling, as well as to visit our contracted recycling partner, ExtraPet. And the goal here was to get the members away from their laptops, out of the boardroom, and into the field so they can really see firsthand some of the challenges that these role players are finding, as well as to understand the impact of their design choices on the value chain. So through these partnerships last year, we've met the collection and recycling targets for 98% of the plastic products that's registered with Petco. These products include your PET bottles as well as the label and the closure. And on top of that, we've also met the 64% collection target for PET beverage bottles and exceeded the 58% recycling target. Of course, at Petco, we pride ourselves on reporting data that has integrity, and all our collection and recycling reporting is informed by what we call a bale characterization study. And last year, we undertook 2 such studies, one in February and one in July, and this was building on the one that was conducted in the previous year. So last year, we sorted through 15 different bales bought by our recyclers, 9 of which was clear bales, 3 brown and 3 green, and the slide captures the results that we've seen from the study, with the large majority, almost 80% of the composition of a bale being that of PET beverage bottles. Of course, the need to support recycler capacity as well as develop end-use markets is also critical to building a sustainable value chain for post-consumer PET. And in 2023, we provided 63 million to the collection and recycling value chain. This enabled our recycling partners to purchase over 300 million worth of post-consumer recyclables, so stimulating the trade within the people they purchase from. As Petco, we also prioritize food-grade rPET as a preferred end-use for collected PET bottles, and we oversaw the availability of about 28,000 tons of recycled PET last year, and again, that's to help our members as well as the broader industry to meet their legislated targets on recycled content. For the first time last year, we trialed the rollout of our model to a material other than PET in the administration of an EPR scheme for liquid board cartons. Through the support that we provided to the recyclers, we were able to raise the gate price that is paid by the recycler for liquid board cartons, and this has resulted in an increased collection, particularly towards the second half of last year. We managed to achieve 80% of the target after just 1 year, which again is a relatively short period of time. But more importantly, we laid the groundwork for future success, of which we're already seeing some of the rewards this year with increased collection rates so far. I do hear from our PET recycling partners and that there still remain some challenges with design, and this is something that we've also heard throughout the day today. Some of the challenges that's been experienced by our recyclers is the use of white or opaque PET bottles, and this is mostly by the dairy sector for products like Magau and Amaz. These bottles, unfortunately, will not be recycled and are destined to landfill. And we encourage our members and broader industry to look at alternatives. In addition to that is these PVC honey bottles. And this is actually a picture that I took at the recent member visit to one of our recyclers, where this recycler is having to sort these PVC bottles away from their recycling waste stream because this cannot be recycled. In addition to that, we also see metal closures on PET bottles, as well as the PET or PVC shrink sleeve on a PET bottle, which we've spoken about earlier. And again, these are going to incur higher costs when eco-modulation is introduced to cover the full cost of having to recycle these. The one at the end is we're increasingly seeing ending up at our PET recycles, and these are bottles that are biodegradable or compostable, right? We're seeing them becoming quite popular within the hospitality sector, and particularly the hotel chains in Cape Town. So they're being sold as a sustainable alternative to PET plastic. But of course, without the infrastructure to collect these and to compost them, as well as without them being clearly labeled as non-recyclable, they still end up in our waste stream and they contaminate the facilities at our PET recycler. So we're working with our members and the broader industry to try and tackle some of these design challenges. I'm going to leave you with a famous African proverb which says that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And for me, this speaks to EPR, and particularly here in South Africa, where in order to create lasting, meaningful change, we need to collaborate. And from a Petco point of view, we look forward to the next 20 years of meaningful collaboration to build on some of the successes that we've already achieved to date. For all information about Petco and what we've been up to, you can follow us on those various social media platforms, and you can also reach out to me if you've got any queries or anything about this presentation. And with that, I thank you for your time this afternoon and for the opportunity to share more about Petco. Thank you.